So let's look here, and this would be Father Sandy Hook's killer speaks out. Well, this is just all whatever. Okay, this word here is suspicious to me. How much do I beat up on myself about the fact that he's my son? A lot. Okay, Breezy Point, New York. When that fucking place got burnt to the ground, the governor said, "Don't worry, we'll rebuild. We're a hardy lot." In Sodom and Gomorrah, the dude that escapes with his daughters is named Lot. Right? The word Lot in Hebrew means hidden. Okay, so I know that this is still the same story. So this dude over here, Andrew Solomon, this is great. Look at how bullshit this is. Andrew Solomon, right? And here's his birthday. October 30. So that would be 10301963, right? And Andrew Solomon wrote a book about this father of this supposed terrible kid. And here's some of his other books. Far from the Tree, Parents and Children, The Search for Identity. So Far from the Tree. So here we go again. The same shit. The Tree of Life, right? There's that. There you go. And The Noonday Demon. How interesting. That two of these books that he wrote, are identical in what they represent. Solomon, biblically, is the king that harnessed the power of the demons, which I'm assuming is atomic power or whatever, something along those lines. And he forced them to build his temple. Okay? It's interesting that a dude named Andrew Solomon writes a book about the tree and the noonday demon. And the father of the kid from Sandy Hook says he hates his kid a lot. Oh, and also the story, where Lot's wife gets turned into a pillar of salt. Yeah, well, that's called Salt of Saturn. You might want to go look up what that is. It has to do with lead and some other stuff. So, yeah, see, there's just chemistry and shit going there, too. But so, Andrew Solomon writes a book about a demon and the tree. And this guy's talking about how much he hates his kid a lot. And then you've got King Solomon, who forces the demons to build his temple. And Solomon is the one that hired out Hiram, the Phoenician, interestingly enough, who was the only guy that knew how to build the temple. And that Phoenician Hiram is the same Hiram Abiff that's in the Masonic history or founding of it. And it's interesting because he was the first Jew on record ever to try and beat somebody on a bad check, because Hiram said, "Hey, fuck you, your check bounced." And then Solomon said, oh, sorry, I'll have to make another deposit. "It's not my fault. It was a holiday. I wrote it and it was a good one. I never bounce a check." So all of this is all tied together. And if you read about this, Solomon goes and he takes the seal of Solomon is the seal of Saturn. It's also called the seal of light. And he takes Beelzebub. "Oh, that's Beelzebub. Very bad, very, very bad, very bad man." And his whole race of demons, and had him build a temple. And in chapter 18, the demons of the 36 deacons, so there's your 9, and there's your 9 again, whatever. So you get the point on that. Hang on, let me get the rest of it. Here it is here. It says, blah, 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 blah. Oh, the imprisoned demon calls himself Ephesiphus, and it is by his power that the cornerstone, thought to be too large to lift, is raised to the entrance of the temple. Then Ephesiphus and another demon from the Red Sea, interesting, because what's the story? The Red Sea parted, and Moses was calling out to God, yet this is a demon from the Red Sea. Wonder who he was really calling on. Brings a miraculous column made out of something purple. What's that? Made out of something purple. What a surprise! Because the other column was red and the other one was blue. Blah blah blah. Let's see. Pharaoh's heart was hard. He was caught. Blah blah blah. Let's see. The following, a short conclusion when Solomon describes how he fell in love with a woman and agreed to worship Remphan and Molech. And what's interesting about that is this word here. Remphan and Molech. Oh, you all know that name from the fake whatchamacallit, Molech. Yeah. So we know that Remphan is the other time that the word Saturn is used. One time is Chiun, Amos 5:26, and the other one is in the book of Acts, I believe. Solomon agrees to sacrifice them, but only sacrifices the blood of a locust by simply crushing them with his hand. You know, those were kids. That wasn't some ass bug. And he is made, immediately the Spirit of God departs from him, and he is made foolish, and his name is a joke to both humans and demons. So in other words, the old man, the true God, or whoever, once this dude took an oath with this cunt to worship Saturn, or whatever it was that he did, the real God said, "Oh, that's terrible. As a matter of fact, when we get back from Israel, you are grounded, and for an entire 0, and I mean it." Whatever holiness he had about him was gone, and now he was just a nothing. And the Testament of Solomon presents the Queen of Sheba as a witch, indicating that the author had an awareness of Jewish tradition. What a surprise. Yeah, who's Yehudi? You want to guess? Guess who? Which had awareness, blah, blah. Solomon concludes with his text. I wonder if he was doing that on a Samsung. Oh, yes, it was very nice back in those days. You didn't have a very wide selection of cell phones, but for what we had for the time, it was a very good one. You should have seen his text. It was flawless. Solomon concludes his text with a warning to mankind. He reminds mankind not to be like he was, to be both aware and of the present and of the future, and to understand the consequences of your action before you act. So, all of this is all tied together just by this little word, a lot. And then, amazingly, Andrew Solomon writes a book about this guy, the father of this horrible boy. And yet his books are about being far from the tree. That's a tree of life. That's those missing kids from Sandy Hook, because they're far from the tree, trust me. And the noonday demon. What a surprise. It's so mind-boggling. I have to get a super squishy. Yeah, it's nothing mind-boggling about it. 8 gazillion videos on YouTube stating that it's a hoax. And one stupid fucking tree trimmer out here proving day after day that these kids were fucking offed. In a very old ceremony or agreement to give up these kids. Period. Maybe even why they were fucking born to begin with was to be, sacrificed or whatever. The shit ain't changed, buddy. It's all here in the writing. You just have to know how to look at it the right way.